All right. Well, everybody, welcome to Fresh Finds. So today's Fresh Finds show, this is what we're going to serve up. I've got 3 quick recipes for blending Google Forms into an online course. Mike's going to share highlights from the Click convention that he was at this month. And then you all are going to get a chance to pick out the topics you like in the Ask a Question section. And together we'll have a free-flowing, screen-showing conversation about our favorite design techniques and resources. All right. So let's kick us off. I am extremely, extremely proud of my silly middle-aged rap video. Oh, no.
Screen share.
Mike about the email he sends every week. Karl blends up tech and food in a new recipe. Join the show and vote for topics that you wanna see. We are learning most and proud of it. Fresh Finds is cool. This is fun, it's not a lecture, that's our only rule. And check out topics, pick the ones you like. And come back to the show and talk about the next Friday night.
Nice.
All right. Yay. I can't tell you how long I practiced trying to screen share that and have it all play there. So thank you, everybody.
Looking like a gangster.
I don't think I really pulled that off very well. But if anything, I was true to myself. I can be sure of that. So we are excited. This is our 2nd episode here. This is a monthly show that we're doing just as a way. Mike and I have been getting together regularly just to share different tips and resources. And we both were getting so much out of it that we decided, hey, you know what? We both love to talk and share. Let's get together and do a little show like this. So one of the things that we want to do is not just us talking all the time, but you guys as well. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do a quick screen share here. This is actually my questions and answers page. So you can see a button along the bottom there that says Ask a Question. You can go through and you can click to vote or remove your vote. So you can scroll down through here. So we'll start off the show today. Mike, you want to give us just like a little blurb of what's behind this link so that people know if they want to talk about it or not?
Yeah, so that one was result of being at the Click conference that you mentioned, and it was a really cool thing that there's all these sort of high-end, super talented graphic designers and working in PowerPoint. So it was a really insightful way to see some of the things that they do. So sort of graphic designer's eye onto PowerPoint and bullet lists and ways that you can improve those and convert them to something more visually appealing and memorable.
Right. The next one here, no next buttons. A lot of times people just build a course with a lecture and you click your way through it. This is one that I sent out on my newsletter a couple of weeks ago, but I love talking about it. It doesn't take any more time. If you have kind of a conversational tone and you have people pick buttons based on questions that you're trying to get them to think of. Mike, MacGyver, what's that?
Yeah, so this is something I think I talk a lot about how there's things we should steal from marketers. And this is a really nice post that has some practical examples of, we build a lot of content and they're usually sort of single purpose sort of things. So this is it's a lot of creative ideas of way you can reuse things you already have in new and different ways.
Nice. I see as people vote, it's reshuffling on us for here. So no next buttons we did. Your go-to app, or tool, or tip. I think that one's a good conversation. I love this term, Infovore. I'm doing a speaking gig next month talking about this. It's kind of our appetite for information and our primal need for knowledge. So if that's a topic you're interested in, why blend learning? I'm a blended learning specialist. I love it. I like to pitch the case for different ways to blend learning. Mike, what's this one? Your favorite non-learning tool?
Yeah, so I think everybody has their favorite sort of go-to tools. So like for instance, mine is one of mine is a design tool called Canva. Another one's called MailChimp that I know you're familiar with. So there's all kinds of tools that we can apply towards learning projects and objectives that are not sort of quote learning tools.
Yeah. So you can use it for learning, but it's not necessarily going to make SCORM or load and track and work automatically.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also kind of good timing this week. I see Jane Hart does her annual top 10 learning tools survey, and that restarted this week. So that's kind of ties in with that pretty well. We could give a nod to that as well.
Yeah. Emails people will understand and reply to, like them or not. Emails are here to stay. What kind of startup resources do you mean here, Mike?
A little bit of everything, but the reason that caught my eye was there are design tools, collaboration tools, so things that everybody can use. So it's labeled as startup resources, but it's good for anybody.
Learning in the flow of work.
Yeah, lots of stuff about that these days, how, learning and actually doing the work aren't really separate. If you do it right, it should be one and the same. So it's kind of a interesting article there from Josh Burson. Pretty big, long, in-depth article too. It's worth a read. Even if we don't talk about it today, you should bookmark that and take a look.
Or if everybody upvotes it, then Mike will explain it to us and we won't have to read something long. Vote, click.
Assuming you believe my interpretation.
5 easy steps. I think that's self-explanatory. Cool, geeky things about Chrome. These are all coming from Mike's newsletter. So if it's something that you've read before and are interested in finding out more or having a discussion around, that's really the point of this, is for us to all learn from one another. Looks like good PowerPoint information here. And the Learning While Working conference, is that one that you went to, Mike?
That's one that I'm going to participate in. So it is Robin from Sprout Labs in Australia is putting it together. So it's a virtual, because they're in Australia and the time zone and stuff is sort of over the course of 2 days that crosses midnight. So people there from all over the world, Australia, the United States, Europe, and there's pretty good lineup of speakers, and then somehow they let me in too, so I don't know how that happened.
He's humble. This man reads the entire internet every day. I know why they picked him. This last one here was a rapid authoring tool that I saw called Hype that I thought was pretty neat. So if that's something, I don't know that really it's sort of a resource to share, but if anyone wants to talk about, we can go ahead and vote for those. So welcome. If you just joined us, down here at the bottom of the page, you'll see a button on your screen that says Ask a Question. When you click it, you can go ahead and pick and vote for any of these topics. Mike and I have each prepared something that we want to talk to you about. I'm going to talk about Google Forms. He's going to talk about the presentation conference that he was at. And when we're done with that, then we'll go and we'll use your votes to talk about the topics that you like most. So does anybody cringe when we say PowerPoint? Is it like a nails on a chalkboard thing? PowerPoint, it's terrible. Love it or hate it, PowerPoint is in every designer's toolkit. So we think blaming PowerPoint for a bad presentation is like blaming a typewriter for a bad book. So Mike's going to help us sharpen our PowerPoint skills. What are you showing us today, Mike?
Well, what I want to show you here, but I've got an extension thing here that's adding, so I may blink out and back on. But it's a couple examples from the conference that we just talked about, and I put a template of this so you don't have to build it. You can do it yourself on my website, and I'll drop a link to that here in chat message as soon as I get some available fingers to do that. But here we go. So I mentioned the graphic designers at the conference. We're talking about working in PowerPoint, and this is one of the most common things that you'll see and sort of a lot of decks. And there was a really nice session there about here's some quick and easy ways that you can present the information in a way that's more visually appealing, that's more attention getting, that's going to be more memorable. And so instead of just a boring sort of bullet list, you can do things like adding color, adding numbers, splitting things out into columns. So these are super easy to do. So these particular 2 slides here are just a simple table. So that's super easy that anybody can build. Sometimes you get, you know, a little bit more complex things that have some relationships with each other. So, you know, you may have topics and hierarchies and things like that that you can split. Now we can use columns. So these are all sort of techniques that people can use. If you think, I really like this concept. So adding in addition to colors, we can add in some icons, some relevant icons. So, you know, there's the whole point of if you're adding images and graphics, they should be for a purpose and related to what you're talking about, as opposed to just throwing random things on there and decorating. And then, you know, from there, you know, it's just a little bit of creativity of, these are technically, you know, if you wanted to be really strict about it, these are still bullet points, but I would propose to you that they're a lot more interesting and appealing and memorable than, you know, just the plain text and the bullets themselves. There's a lot of really nice websites where you can grab these kind of layouts for free, or for even better ones for, you know, a few dollars, and then you can reuse these for all kinds of different types of projects and presentations and e-learning courses and whatever. And it's just really, it's not anything that's difficult. It's just sort of looking at them in a new perspective and changing your mindset. And then the other piece, Joel Simmons was one of the presenters at the conference, and one of his tips was something to the effect of magic move the shit out of it. Are we allowed to say that?
Bleep. Yeah, as long as we bleep it, it's fine. People are
a 5-second delay. But so what he was talking, so what he's talking about is in Keynote, it's called magic move. In PowerPoint, it's called the morph transition. And what that morph transition will do is it will compare 2 slides for the difference, and it will animate in between and sort of interpolate all of the locations and shapes and sizes and colors from one slide to the next automatically. So I'll show you how this works. So I've got a sequence here of 3 slides, and instead of bullet points, you know, they're just sort of 3 little boxes on a wheel. And I haven't done anything to these slides except apply this morph transition. So it's in the newer versions of PowerPoint. If you're still in the older versions, you may not see this. But if I pop into slideshow mode, this is my first one. When I move to the second one, watch the animation.
It's not showing. It's showing sort of the PowerPoint recent screen.
Okay, let me reshare with my whole. Let me stop and reshare, because this is one of my very favorite things in PowerPoint. I do the whole entire screen. You got me now?
We got it.
Okay, let's see if this will work better in slideshow mode. Got that?
Awesome.
All right, so as I progress from the first slide to the next, watch the animation. So I could have built that manually. You know, I could have grouped these and done some spins, and it would have been all, you know, there would have been a whole lot of work involved in doing that stuff. That morph transition automates it and makes it super easy. Let me just I'll show you a quick
Mike, do you get options on that? It looks like there's no, when you select, you have like the effect options over on the side.
Right.
Is that something that Morph does as well? Or it sounds like it's kind of automatic.
Yeah, you don't really get options. It just does its interpretation, and you sort of get what you get. So I just do a simple circle. Let me change the color. I'm going to change sort of maybe size and aspect ratio here. Put it in the corner somewhere. And as long as I turn on that morph transition, it's just going to look at where's this first one, where's the next one, and how do I transition from one to the next. So these are really simple. There's amazing examples. I know Bright Carbon has some. Some other folks have stellar examples where you've got diagrams breaking apart. But it's really super powerful and just it looks fantastic in the right context.
I love it.
And then the last thing here, there's a few places. Slide Model, Slide Shop have weekly templates that you get on their email list and they send them to you. So that couldn't be any easier. Slide Smash has got some really nice free layouts. And if you've never seen Nancy Duarte's diagrammer site, it is fantastic. You punch in, how many, they call them nodes, how many elements you want, 3, 5, 7. And then you get this whole library. There's thousands of layouts and diagrams that you just download and then you're off.
Is that a Slide Shop or Diagrammer?
Diagrammer.
Okay.
So it's Nancy Duarte's company who built all of those, and they just put them online and they're free.
All right.
So pretty cool stuff.
Thanks, Mike. Has anybody in the community here used any of these resources, want to back him up or share anything additional? Again, this is our show, not just me and Mike, but feel free to jump into the chat room and talk about it. I actually wanted to do something to share with you all. I wanted to play a little game to help get everybody sort of chatting a little bit in the windows here. Before I do that, I did find the link. I put that in the text as well. Mike's presentation here that he just showed us, Better Bullets, is listed there. So I put that in a little bit ago. So you can find that. And here is my YouTube channel. But this is a little game that I want to play called Digital and Analog. Thank you, Dan. Slide Model and Diagram. So what I want to do, I'm going to actually, I thought of 3 little examples. We'll just try this. I really wanted this to be a show where you all have a chance to chat and to share your point of view. And I see we're living in this time where we have all these great tools all the time. There's something new, there's something better that's coming out, but there's also something to be said for the old way of doing it. And I think that's an important thing to remember as a designer, especially as somebody who's like super interested in technology. So we're going to play a little game called Analog or Digital. So I'm going to show you 2 statements here, and then in a moment I'm going to put up, and then I'm going to ask you to take a poll question about that. So this was something from my real life. Uh-oh. I think Google is animating my things for me. So we have the toothbrush. I have a 6-year-old, or he's a 5-year-old, who has a toothbrush that connects through Bluetooth. And there's an app, and he goes through and he looks at it. And there's something about me that just says, no, I don't think that we need. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it doesn't improve his brushing. So I'm going to ask you in a minute here to go into the poll and to choose whether you agree that this digital solution is better, or if you had to only pick one, would you pick the toothbrush? That it's just a regular toothbrush. You got it from your dentist. Use toothpaste, floss, and mouthwash. So then down at the bottom here, there is a little screen that says polls. And if I'm screen sharing and I show you, you'll see that we have one vote here. So we have digital and analog. So again, go down and click the polls and we'll see what you think. If you could only pick one toothbrush, would you go digital? Would you go analog? And then if you feel like explaining your reasons, jump into the chat window and say, what do you think? Why would you pick analog toothbrush? Why would you pick a digital toothbrush? This is our chance. Maybe there's a wonderful toothbrush app that we're all about to learn about, and that'll be wonderful for us. Instant feedback, absolutely. Feedback on better brushing, instant learning. One of the troubles that we run into, my vote on this, you can tell, is analog. One of the problems is we have 4 kids and we're super busy at night, and the app that syncs with his toothbrush doesn't work well on different phones, and the kid's too little, so he doesn't have his own phone. So if my wife brushes the teeth, he can't use the app, and if I brush the teeth, he can. And then he ends up doing the brush, and then he just hits the thumb screen, and then he's off to PBS Kids or YouTube. So if you have any, target audience is important. So again, in the real world, you get to choose either digital or analog. But here I'm asking you just to go ahead and pick one. All right. So we have digital winning the toothbrush battle. You want a digital reminder? Does anybody use a cool toothbrush app or anything like that that they recommend? I think I'm fancy because I have one with a timer that buzzes every 30 seconds and I know when to move around in my mouth. We won't spend all day. This is not the toothbrush show. So I'll hop over, let's do the next one. So the analog way of doing things is a pad of paper that sits on your desk. You've just got a pen. You can quickly jot anything down as it comes to me. I can jot it down as it comes to me. Or you can have an app. I actually love the Wunderlist app. I'm going digital on this one. It pops up with reminders. I always have my phone. It's really nice. I do also use a pad of paper, but if I have to pick, if I have to go back in here, then to-do lists, I vote. Oh, I guess I don't get to vote. So if you want to go into the poll. So vote for digital or analog. I'm having trouble voting. Is anybody else having trouble?
I'm not.
All right.
I was hoping for a third option there. I always pick both because it depends on the context, right? Like if I'm in the car and I want to record something on my phone, or if I'm at my daughter's softball practice, you know, a piece of paper is better for that. So it just depends on how I'm using it and where.
I wish we were in the same room so I could high five you. That's like the whole point of this is that, in the real world, you get to do both. But it's just kind of an interesting conversation of saying, like, if you only could pick one, if you had to. And this is sort of something that I'm hoping will keep you from always reflexing to your digital or your analog tendencies. And that you kind of look at it and say, well, gosh, it's like, each of them are yin and yang. There's no right one and wrong one. It's just like they're both right and both a little bit wrong for different ways. So to-do lists. I'm surprised to see 2 analog folks. I do digital for everything that's sort of milestone-y. But if it's like, oh, I need to update slide 6 and oh, remember slide 12 that has a little audio blip, then I just use a scratch paper so that I remember to do it when I go back through. Yes. All right, and you love to write. Yeah, Pam, I think there's something to it. Just picking up a pen and watching it move helps me remember, and there's something that's tangible and tactile about it that I like. So yes, I have both. And the last one, this is kind of about learning technology. So classroom training. Hey, come on, mouse. I can do this. So the analog way. Hey, classroom training is a priority. We offer required and continuing education workshops throughout the year. I had a longer version of this that said, hey, you know what? We even have coaching, we have informal, we have formal, we have lots of different ways for people to work with a real person to learn from. And then the other end of that is sort of an unstructured formal, not a formal program, a mobile app where people can go through and look it up. Little videos, mobile apps with documents that have been created, but no structure. So if you had to pick, would you like the structure of people, or do you like the vast power of the information age and going and searching? I think this is fun. I hope you guys like this exercise as much as I do.
Yeah, I wish I had the link with me. I'll try to share it, but just reading one of Ruth Clark's books, and I've seen it in a couple places where she talks about, there are studies that have shown that the delivery mode is not as important as your instructional. So what instructional strategies are you using, regardless of if it's digital or face-to-face or whatever, that really determines the effectiveness of learning that's taking place.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Gemma's content here. Lots of people do like in-person training. There's just something comforting about so we just get us in a room together and just tell us what we need to know. I've been on a contract where I've been building all these online simulations and with Storyline and little screen movies with Camtasia that show them how to use this Workday system. And people are skipping the training or skipping the online training and just showing up to the session saying, yeah, I haven't done any of this. Just tell me what I need to know. And then saying, oh, I'm really hard. It's really hard. I can't figure this out. So
there's a lot of things I think probably wrapped into that culture, accountability, right? Like if you've never done it in the past, if you've done it in the past poorly, there's a lot of things that go into how that happens. And I think if you don't have a cohesive strategy to account for a lot of those factors, then you'll always get that.
Mm-hmm. Shelly, I like your comment here. The put it in their hands and walk with them in it. It's like, hey, our training is going to be me showing you how to read the resources, not at least that's what I hear you saying. And Sandy's going with both again. Sandy, you rebel. That's why it says, Lincoln, if you could only pick one. Sandy and I have worked together for years, so I can pick on her a little bit.
I'm going to come to Sandy's defense, as nobody ever reads anything, including me. I'm terrible at that, so I'm in your corner, Sandy.
Yeah. No, I agree that there is something when Mike and I both went to San Diego State at pretty much the same time, and I was an on-campus. Of course, I lived in San Diego and he lived in Ohio, so the choice was kind of made for him that he went to classes online and I went to class in person because I wanted to sit next to people that were interesting and talk to them and pick their brains and get to know them a little better. And I didn't feel that I could really do that in the online for grad school online. And I don't know. I did think it was funny driving into class for a course on distance learning now. Yep, every Tuesday. Okay. Well, thank you for playing our first game of analog and digital. That was fun for us. I like the reminder that, hey, a pen and paper can be useful sometimes and doesn't have to be high tech, and it can be easy to get things done quicker if you don't only go to digital. So anyway, any comments there, Mike?
No, I was just going to say I'm eager to see your Google Forms
Google Forms. Let's
deal
do it.
because these are so handy.
Okay. So I want to show you 3 things with Google Forms. So if you have a Gmail account, I have one set up with my company here, but if you have a Gmail account and you just click these little dots, you'll see this Drive button. And once you go into Drive, you can say New, and you can go in here. It is hidden a teeny bit here. Go under More, and then you'll see there's Google Forms. They actually even have some from templates that I'll show you in a minute, but let me just show you what a blank form will do for you. So we can go in and name it. So one of the easiest things to do would be like, hey, I've got a project where maybe we train people internally, but then we're going to do one that's for our vendors. We're vendors. Vendors aren't loaded into the LMS. They're not part of your corporate environment. So even if your company has an LMS, there may be a case where you'd use something like this. The idea is that you go through and you create something. We'll just make it real simple. We'll do a short answer. There's a nice little drop down here so you can pick different options, but I'm going to say that this one is required. I can duplicate it and say email, and I'm going to say that this one is required, and you can go on from there. You can add in pictures, you can add in videos. There's even some things you can do with sections so that I could say, hey, are you a manager, or do you work in location 1, location 2, or location 3? And then based on how they answer it, you could send them to different sections. But for now, let me just show you a real plain vanilla one here. There's a little bit you can do. You could upload a picture or just click to change the title of it. But the way it works is then you come in here. My name is Carl. And this is my email address. Okay. So I have some of the different settings here. I'm just curious, how many people have done this how many people here have worked with Google Forms before?
I have.
You have.
Huh. Nice.
So when we go through and we actually set it up, we have questions and responses. If you click here, what it does is it actually just creates a new spreadsheet. So I can have one set up, or I could use one that I already have. So now when I click create, it's going to go ahead and bring it up here. So if I were to go ahead and we'll go here, and I'm going to paste this into our chat window. Ooh, Sandy, I want to hear what you guys are doing with Google Forms, because this is just the basics. So I have put that in there, and then I'm going to screen share here, and we'll see who is fast. And if you want to put in a fake email address, that's totally fine. I will do no spamming with it. But you can go ahead, and hopefully I put the right link down there in the chat.
Did you uncheck the option about permissions? I think that's one thing that
thank you.
I always forget that too. I think it's up in the top right corner.
Yes.
I always forget to do that too, which is a reminder to always test your stuff before you send it out.
Is it preferences?
Maybe it's under the gear.
Under the gear.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
there we go.
That should be. I don't know why that's defaulted on, but it probably shouldn't be.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
So one of the things that you can do is you can check that they'll only have one response. They can't sign in multiple times. This summary charts and text responses is kind of neat. You can see what other people put. I'm going to go ahead and save that. So now that link should work. I can go ahead. I imagine the URL is still the same.
It is. Just refresh it.
All right. See how great this works? So yeah, Joe Cool, Elvis Presley, wonderful. Yeah. So it looks like people have already used this before. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of jump back in here. We see that we have the different responses. I'm curious to hear more about what you guys are doing with this. So if you want to go ahead and chat that, yeah.
I have something. So we use Zapier. It's kind of like an IFTT, if you've ever heard of that. So it's something that sort of, I call it like plumbing for the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And we take survey submissions like we just saw with names, email addresses, and we'll set up a recipe or a zap, whatever you call those things. And it will watch our Google Sheet for new names and email addresses and automatically register them for webinars. So they submit, we have like a pre-workshop, a pre-program survey. They get collected in a Google Sheet. We tell Zapier to connect our GoToWebinar platform with Google Sheets, and anytime new data comes into the sheet, they're automatically registered into GoToWebinar, and you don't have to touch it. It's awesome.
Sounds awesome.
So no copy and paste, no upload, download stuff. It just works.
Mm-hmm. Thank you all for your permission. Sandy, what are you guys doing with Google Forms? Maybe you could type in a little bit here. I'll go back into Google Drive and I'll show you how they do a graded one. But if you have experience in other ways that you want to do it, by all means, I would love to learn from you. Part of the fun of doing this, but if you go here into the templates, I have a Google domain app. So my company name is listed here where I could go in and actually create templates that I reuse for things. I wonder if that's what you're doing. But yeah, they have some neat little things here, job applications, RSVP, event registration. But this blank quiz, I think, is really cool too.
Karl, one other thing I add that's right in Google Forms is
I'm not screen sharing.
Is the pre-filled option. So
yeah.
I've used this approach with surveys and collecting course feedback, workshop, whatever kind of feedback you want. And so instead of creating a separate form for every course, there is a nice option here to get a pre-filled link. Mm-hmm. So if you, Karl, in your form, make one of the forms like course name, get back into edit mode.
Mm-hmm.
So just make that says course name or course title, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and you want to make it multiple choice?
No, just free text is fine.
Okay.
All right, so you have a course name, but if I want to use this same form to collect feedback from multiple courses, you can use this pre-filled option to get a link that's unique for each course, but then everything flows to the same spreadsheet. So if you type a course name in there, just call it, I don't know, Safety Basics or something. You got a bit down below.
Here?
Yeah, right there. And then if you click the Get Link button,
all right,
copy it. Now just paste that into like a blank. Yeah. So if you use that link in your course, the course name's pre-filled.
Mm-hmm.
So then all they have to do is do their feedback. And then what that does, it's stored in your spreadsheet so that I can see all of the feedback in one place and then just filter by the appropriate course.
Wow.
So you don't have to rely on people entering the name and misspelling and choosing the wrong one. Mm-hmm. It's all handled by the link.
Mm-hmm. So if we wanted to do, yeah, good. I'm going to not wander deeper into that because I want to have time for people's questions here. Let's see, any chance? Sorry about the infinity here. Lots of surveys, lots of employee functions, trying to get them from them. Yes, very true, Gemma. Get someone to maintain the responses and confirmations. One of the things that I do with mine is you can set to be notified that, and again, this might be more annoying than helpful, but yeah, you can, there is a setting where you can go in and have it email you when someone fills this out.
Yeah, that's useful. It'll email you a copy of their responses. So, you know, if you just want to keep an eye on things and you're only going to dig into maybe bad comments, right? Like you don't have to go to a separate place and they'll come to you. put a filter on it and shove them all into a folder or something.
Yeah. So one of the quiz things that we can do here, I went ahead and created this. So let's go ahead and is Karl perfect? Absolutely not. Okay. So we can go through here, and then they have a little icon. So we can say, okay, we can edit the question. We can assign how many points we want. So if you're used to working with something like Quizmaker, but you've got somebody in your life who wants to do a quiz, there's all kinds of different questions that you can put in here. Let me go ahead over here. I'm going to click Add a New Question. And you see that they have a decent checkboxes, drop downs. Some of these you cannot, like short answer or paragraph, those are not going to be graded. But yeah, I was just kind of blown away. I didn't realize that Google Forms did that. And what's nice is that you can have your answer key go through, and you saw some of the settings that I was at here, where people can go through and actually say, okay, so as soon as they're done, we give them the grade, we can give them correct answers, incorrect answers, all those kinds of things. So pretty neat. You can even put in feedback for if they get it wrong or if they get it right.
Looks like you can put videos and links in there too, huh? That's nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. So
I'm a big fan of work smart, not hard, and this is perfect for that. So Google Forms are really neat. So the first recipe is as a completion form. The second recipe is as a quiz. And then the third one, I did one once in a course, and I'll show you how you stick this into your course. But basically, you go through and you make the Google form first, and then I've got a storyline file. I just pulled these down from the slides from Articulate, just to show you that you would have some content in there. And then when you go to the Insert tab, if you just go to Web Object, then you can go in, and we can display the slide. So it does this little web object thing. So now they'll go through 4 different slides, and then it'll pull this up. So what's neat is you can actually use these web objects to display your form. It makes it nice so that people can't share them with each other. If you send out an email that says, here's the completion form, or if you click and it opens in your browser, someone's going to be savvy enough to just like forward that email address around, or forward that link out so people can just complete. So there's
I'm glad you said that, because I was just in my brain thinking, well, you could also make it a link in the player or a link somewhere else. So I'm glad you called that out.
Yeah, because once you've got it in the browser, it's real easy to do. So this is like embedded. So the only thing in the URL is going to be the URL to load the course. So that's a pretty neat one. I actually used this once where it was a course on customer service. And it was like everybody knew each other well, and it was an online course. And I said, hey, why don't we go in and just make one that says, like, tell me about a good customer service experience you had. Where were you and what happened? So that was like slide 3 of the course, where everybody kind of said, okay, not at work, when I was a consumer. It was a call center, and I wanted them to have empathy for the people that they're working with and to think of themselves, because everyone's both a customer. We're also customers. So they were able to go through that and then put it in. And then here under responses, you can actually make it so that, there's the email one that I was looking for. So they would actually be able to go through and they would see everybody else's responses that they could go through. I'm using a bad example here, but here under your, so you, so you get the idea. The questions and things are in here. I don't want this to turn into a super technical show. As you can see how awesome I am at this, but it's a really powerful tool. There's a lot of capabilities for it here, and that is my pitch for the Google Forms in your course. So let's go see what we did here with our questions. All right. Biggest winner, Mike. 4 votes, better than bullet points, alternative text slide designs.
So we got that one covered. That was easy.
Mm-hmm. And let's go into MacGyver of modern learning then.
Yeah, do you have that link there handy?
I do.
Can you pop that up? So, one of the things that to borrow your phrase or our phrase or whoever, I don't know, whoever had it first, was working smarter and not harder. A lot of times I hear training.
Am I sharing this?
Yeah, no, you got it. We got it.
Good.
A lot of times say, well, why don't you use MailChimp for email campaigns and drip the content out? And one of the common pushbacks is, well, I don't have time for that. But if you are smart about it, you've already got images and graphics and videos and stuff in courses and whatever instructor-led training events that you're doing. Just beg, borrow, and steal. And so here's a couple of examples about, I can take part of an instructor-led and make it a webinar, or take part of a webinar and pull it into micro-learning. Take some things out of a manual, which is like big, massive walls and blocks of text, and make it an infographic, kind of like Legos, which one's going to be easier to follow. So I just really like these. And again, it's not anything that's difficult to do. It's just sort of a mindset. This one about personas is one that I'm really sort of fascinated with lately. And I had a conversation today with somebody, and they used personas as a way to do sort of audience analysis for their projects. And then they sort of had a side benefit of identifying which of those personas or which of those target groups they are in, and then awareness of the other groups existing and how they would interact with each other, right? So there's all kinds of benefits. And again, that's another concept that came from marketers. It's just another way to identify audiences and what's unique about them. And if you do things, speak to every audience the same way. So I don't speak to executives the same way I speak to frontline staff versus housekeeping staff versus whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that idea of a fresh way to identify, who is your content for. So you can see here in the list, if you scroll a little bit, take a case study, make it a brainstorming scenario in your e-learning course. Take information from a boring print spec sheet, make it a video with, something like Adobe Spark or something, right? So it's the content's already there. You're just sort of, to use your recipe analogy, remixing it. Mm-hmm. Leftovers, maybe those are leftovers, upscaled, something like that. This was one that really caught my eye, and I think we could probably, there's 8 here. We could easily probably make 20 or 30 or more of these type of, how can I take something and reuse it? And yeah. Earlier comment from Dan, right? Like, it's always nice if you're starting a project and you start on first base, or maybe even second base or third base in some of these, because they're really mostly done. You're just doing a little tweaking. So maybe you're starting a project on third base. Like, how awesome is that?
This mobile-friendly PowerPoint was something I remember you telling me about a year ago, and I've used it a couple times since there. Yeah, just go in and take that old PowerPoint and save it out. It's a video, and people can listen to it. If you're building training that's not interactive anyway, you might as well call it mobile learning.
You can, you could, if it's instructor-led classrooms, you could add some narration to your slides directly in PowerPoint. Publish it to MP4, which is mobile friendly. You can even use PowerPoint for documents and export it to PDF, which is also mobile friendly. So like, if you think ebooks, that sort of stuff, for manuals and guides and whatever else, there's possibilities are almost endless.
Mhm. Well, if you're watching the archive, you can actually click right in the questions and answers to see that one. I'm going to go ahead and start this e-learning recipe one here. I think I'm screen sharing all our questions right now. And I've got some links to the sample here. This is a site that I've set up for fun. Just my goal is to get 50 of these in the next year. So that puts me at about one a week. But the no next button, you could go there from e-learning recipes. I'll go ahead and put this in chat as well if you want to see. Dan, let's see if we can go through this quick so we can pick one of yours. So yeah, a lot of times people just have the course that's locked down and you can't do anything with it. But what I did was actually give them, instead of a next button, I just show them, okay, like tell me more, or okay, you take the first step is to write it in a conversational tone. Do the second person. So, hey, what do you think? Would you do this? Would you? So I've got a couple different examples here. I'll go ahead and click to pull this one up and show you. It's available on that site as well. So if you actually want to click through and see some of this. So instead of saying next, I'm trying to just hammer home the little points. Okay. None of this. So all I did, this is in Storyline. So if I say, tell me more, I'm just doing a show layer that gives them a little bit of feedback that says, yeah, you don't want to give out all of your personal information. It's important. Pretty work in Louisville. Small part of you didn't like to share information. What if I asked for your social security number or credit card? Now I'm thinking, learner engagement gets thrown around like it's something that's really sophisticated and it takes a huge budget and it takes a lot of time and technical expertise. You could do this with PowerPoint. Would you want to share your credit card online? I tell you, are you kidding me? No way. Right. You wouldn't share your information, right? Visa, MasterCard, I don't overshare. Right? Like we're trying to just hammer home the point. So I'll stop going through this. If you want to go through and take it on your own, you can. But I've just sort of used, sometimes I call these little speed bumps that people go through and read, and then they have a choice to go through. Yeah. Any comments or anything on that? It's really fun. It doesn't take any more time, and it's so much more fun to build. Oh my gosh. And take.
Especially take.
Especially take. Oh, what? You don't think I'm retarded? So I guess you're not supposed to say that, but yeah, you actually think that I have a brain and can pick things? But, all right, Dan. Now's your time. We got lots of 1 votes. Go ahead and chat which one you want to see. Thank you, Gemma. I'm very excited about that. I have a whole food metaphor that I'm doing with the e-learning recipes. So if you want, you can kind of see it that I've got both. Every recipe has, so if you go in and look at any of the recipes, you'll see this is the Google Forms one that we did. So I go through and I say what your ingredients are and then what the directions are to make it, along with a couple little tips. So you can see that. But then I have a whole meal planning metaphor as well, where I really think people getting together and working together is like live instruction. I'll let you go through and look at that. But this is fun. This is a project that I'm really enjoying.
Carl, have you seen? Gimma's asking if you saw
rap video.
Rap
No,
video.
I want to. Should we see that right now? Whole Foods rap video. Oh wow.
They're stealing your idea.
No, they can have it.
Looks like it's 4 minutes.
I'm putting that in to everybody here. Thank you. I will watch it immediately after this. It looks like fun. My brother-in-law calls it whole paycheck. So anything that is fun there. Thank you, Dan.
Can I be sort of greedy, and can we just, I'm curious what people's favorite tools are. Can we just do that as a quick chat?
This one? Sure.
Whole thing.
Your favorite non-learning tool?
Or any favorite tool we could if nobody has non-learning tools, but I'm just really curious.
Gosh, I love Snagit. I use Snagit so many times every day. I'm constantly using Snagit. I think that's kind of a learning tool, but yeah. Trello.
Trello too.
Yeah.
Trello's in my top 3 or 4. Trello fellow.
And if I'm doing it well, I'm a mellow Trello fellow because my project's being managed perfectly. Microsoft Teams. Yeah, Mark, I just saw the Microsoft Stream for the first time and was really impressed with that. It's like a little YouTube portal that's built in there along with, I haven't seen Teams really working, but they have it at this company that I'm working at now.
Have they merged? I'm curious because I know they bought Yammer. And have they merged Yammer with Teams, or are those still two unique?
Still separate as far as I could tell. Somebody else may know.
Always
better.
confusing.
I'm going to add this one. It used to be Go Animate, but now it's called Beyond. But that's a really cool tool where you can go in and make little videos put in. I know you've seen this before, but I think that's a great tool.
It's going to take me, if I ever remember that those are the same thing, Beyond and Go Animate.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what was driving their name change, but from a consumer perspective, it was not a good thing.
Yeah. Go Animate was a lot more clear than what Beyond is, but who knows?
It's beyond my...
It's beyond
my comprehension.
Yeah. After Effects, Trello, Snagit, Storyline, lots of Storyline. Yes, the puns are strong. Like them, we do. All right. Wonderful.
Does anybody else use Canva, or am I the only Canva person for graphics?
I love Canva. In fact, I'm lobbying right now for you to do something with Canva next month because I want to see how you do all your little thumbnails.
Yes, yeah, it's brilliant. It's just...
So this is Canva. If you've never seen it before, it is amazing. And it's actually, even if you're not trying to make something, this Learn to Design section, I think is just fantastic.
It's fantastic,
so
yes.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. And there's quite a bit you can do in it for free. And then Mike, I don't know, do you pay Canva anything?
No, but I would. But I haven't had to yet. There's nothing. I've thought, I haven't had the need for it since I sort of saw that they do this, but you can design print materials and they'll print them and ship them to you.
Yeah.
Right, like professional printing, which I think is pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Canva is wonderful. One of my favorites. I'll go ahead and post this one in the chat as well so that is there. Creative Market. CreativeMarket.com. Thank you, Mark.
I'm on that one. They email you what I think six freebies a week, fonts and vector graphics and design stuff. Yeah. Yep.
Dan, did I get to all of the? Did we get to one that you were trying to vote for? We can squeeze one last one in there. Otherwise, we probably got to this here. This is yes, sharing is caring. Absolutely, Sandy. This has been something that's really fun for Mike and I. I'm already looking forward to next month. We're going to do these once a month. We're scheduling them on the third Thursday of the month. And we're going to do the same kind of structure here where we've got a couple things prepared, but we also want to just sort of follow the whims and fancy of the chat room and go where it needs to go. The archive will be available, and I would also like to send out a little survey. If you guys can give me, I should probably build it in Google Forms, but if you guys can give us a little feedback on what we do and how we can do it better, that would be awesome. Mike, any last words?
I got nothing. I think that's good. I'm excited for the next one too. Like I'm happy to have these conversations, and hopefully we maybe have a few before the next time.
Yeah. Sandy, that is an excellent excellent question. How do you get on Mike's email list? I believe I'm screen sharing here. Does that get in touch?
Resources, I think it is. I should maybe make that a bit clearer, but newsletter.
Is this it?
So that's stuff that's beyond. You can just follow my site. That's get you the Friday tips, and this newsletter is the stuff that doesn't make the blog posts. It's the extras, bonus material.
Gemma, I hope I've been saying your name right all along here, but yeah, if you want to suggest a question or topic, I'm sorry, I meant to say that. Oh, good. If you go here into ask a question, you can just go in and you can click this big red button. Mike and I are feeding it with different things, but if you want to hop on there and leave something, I'm going to see your name instead of one of ours. I'm trying to encourage you all to get to participate, so I'm not going to go through and delete it, and we can handle it on next month's show. So with that, a big high five for everybody, and have a pleasant rest of the day.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.